Hello, everyone. I see all the participants coming in. Chris, I don't see a record button. Let's see.
Yeah, we're already recording.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Welcome, everyone. We'll wait another minute or two. All right, I see the participants leveled up at 31, so we'll get started. So welcome to the Digital Marketing Lunch and Learn webinar series. I'm Peter Ritchie. I'm co-president with Christina Davis of the HSMAI South Florida chapter. And we thank Visergy for their presentation series. This week will be great, and hopefully you'll get a lot out of it because it's on SEO for AI. And prior to starting, we've talked about the ever-changing landscape of SEO. I just want to spend 2 or 3 minutes talking about HSMAI South Florida. If you're not a member with us, take a look at our website, hsmaisouthflorida.org. We are the professional organization that is international in scope, and we work with the commercial strategy portions of the overall business. So you'll meet people in revenue optimization, face-to-face sales, marketing roles of many types across hotels, cruise lines, airlines, OTAs, you name it. This is the group for that voice. Our South Florida chapter has about 200 members, and we cover all of South Florida from about Jupiter down through the Keys over to the West Coast, Fort Myers and Naples area. HSMAI has a lot of different things that they do. As you can see, we offer webinars for free, thanks to this case, our sponsor, Visergy. We have great case studies, weekly news updates. We have access to different contexts and high levels across the globe, actually. Our chapter does a general managers panel once a year. We get the voice from the GMs of what's going on in the market. We have an annual gala where we have a legend of the year, and we also do some great things in revenue optimization in terms of panels, guest speakers, etc. And once a year, we get all the DMOs together, visit Florida, discover the Palm Beaches, Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau, and Visit Lauderdale, and they give us what they did last year, what's coming ahead in their forecast. And there are many certifications. If you go to HSMAI National or International, you'll see all the different certifications we offer, like Revenue Management Executive, Sales Executive, etc. So many different reasons to join. I'm also very blessed to have a scholarship in my name that we give out to students across South Florida every year. We give this out at the gala. We work on any school across the region that has hospitality students. They can come and apply for scholarships. So if you'd even like to donate $1, just go to our website /students. Every dollar helps us pay it forward. So we do that in the end of the year around the time of the gala. And that's really what we want to say, just to welcome you. So I'll stop sharing now and hand it over to Devin, who is going to introduce your speaker, Trish Leighton. So Devin Stiles, pass to you.
Hi, I'm Devin. As he said, I am the Director of Corporate Marketing for Visergy. Real quick, before we get started, I wanted to let everybody know that we have saved time at the end for questions. So if you could use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen to submit your questions, we'd prefer that. And we may get to some of them as we go, but we're probably going to try to save all of them for the end. So without further ado, I'd like you all to meet our wonderful SEO expert, Trish Leighton.
Thank you, Devin. Hi, everybody. Thanks for spending your lunch hour with me. I hope we can learn some exciting stuff and it can impart some good things for you guys today. My name is Trish Leighton. I am the Senior Manager of Search here at Visergy. A little bit about me. I've been at Visergy just about 8 years now, and I started working in SEO a little over 12 years ago, kind of aging myself. So I saw a lot of changes over the last 12 years, so I hope I can pass on some really good information to you guys today. We have a lot to talk about. If you tuned into Jeremiah's last week, he mentioned that he has a farm and showed cute pictures of his goats. But I don't have a farm, but I do have cute kids. So I'm going to show you those. They smell like goats sometimes, so I guess it's kind of the same thing. So you guys might be familiar with Visergy. If not, I'll just give you a little bit of background on us. We are a Florida-based agency, and we provide website design, digital marketing, and booking engine services for hospitality. We've been around a really long time, about 25 years or so, and we have a really awesome book of clients around the world. 48 states, Mexico, Canada, Caribbean, Europe. We're lucky to work with some really, really awesome brands, good management companies, independent hotels, restaurants and casinos. So we have over 1,700 clients that we love to serve every day, and that is who we are. So for about the next 30 minutes or so, we're going to go over a lot of stuff. So thanks to HSMAI again for giving us this platform this year. I really like to share some of this expertise with people in the industry. My team specifically, the SEO team here at Visergy, we've been working really hard to kind of crack the code lately and find some of the best ways to move the needle in this AI space. And we've been testing some tactics and saw some pretty good results so far with some of our strategies. So I just want you guys to find some information that you can take with you moving forward, things that you find actionable, because these big changes can be pretty overwhelming, I know, for us as SEO professionals or hospitality professionals. So hopefully by the end, you feel like you kind of understand it a little bit better, and some of these things I talk about are doable. That's kind of my goal here today. So I'll go through a quick overview of what we'll be going over today. Some of the changes we see in the search engine results pages, we'll refer to them as the SERPs, because a lot of this stuff is quite a mouthful to say. We've seen a lot of like really kind of subtle and some big notable changes over the last year. So we'll go over some of those. I'll give a little background on the search generative experience, or SGE. That's kind of like all the efforts as a whole that are being used like to incorporate AI into search. We call that SGE. We'll talk about how the search queries and our behaviors are kind of changing with all these developments, and we're using more like conversation-oriented questions and answers. And then, of course, probably what a lot of you guys came here for, how do we optimize for AI? How do we find that visibility in places like the AI overview and LLMs, like ChatGPT, that stands for large language models. So we'll go over like some actual tactics that can work in finding some avenues there. So up until now, we've pretty much gotten used to certain elements that are in the SERPs, like over the last few decades. You know, you put in a search, your ads are up top, you'll get like a map or your local 3-pack for location searches, you get your organic results taking up the rest of the page. People also ask is kind of thrown in there. And then for branded searches, you have like your knowledge graph or your Google business profile on the right. And then you get pagination on the bottom, like 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a lot of lovely little blue links is what we're used to. The SERPs today are looking, a little bit different, and there's a lot less space for organic results. So this is an example of a search I did for hotels near, I believe it was like Riverwalk in San Antonio. You've got, your map up here, your carousel image ads, people also ask section, and then you have one organic result here. And one thing to note is that this is a shrunken screenshot. So you're already below the fold on a standard screen, or you're like a couple scrolls down on a mobile device before you even get to like this first organic result. And then we're seeing something new, this more hotels section down here, which are actually meta search ads. And then, below that, we have just like a small handful of organic listings and then more meta search ads below. So this is like 6 standard organic results now. And this is what maybe a page and a half or second page of results. And another thing, we're not even seeing pages. This is like a continuous scroll. And most of the searches I do, that's what I'm seeing now. So you may have noticed it by this point. It still kind of goes back and forth, so it might still be in testing, but I can definitely see the continuous scroll just kind of being the standard treatment soon. So we may not be able to really talk about page 1 of results, page 2 of results, because it's going to be just one long experience. So I mean, this isn't anything new, right? Google changes this landscape pretty often. I feel like I'm always, talking about or training on like, hey, what's new in our SERPs today? So it's probably the most squeezed out I've seen organic though in like the history of my professional life in SEO. We can't fight against this. Google's making these changes for a reason, right? They're trying to deliver a really rich set of results that matter. So it makes sense. And we just have to focus our efforts on ways that we get visibility within these little facets of the landscape that they're giving us now. Ads and features are dominating the SERPs and they're far more than organic placements now. So we have to just kind of work within it. There's one more element I do want to go into when it comes to the SERPs. We're going to talk a lot about this. It is the AI overview. So depending on, the type of query you're using, you'll see this AI overview at the top of your results. I think it's showing for like 80% of searches nowadays. It's really just a summary of results and they can answer the question that you're asking and they pull from a variety of sources. And then it links to those sources, which initially when this first rolled out, it didn't. It was just giving you information. And it was kind of caused a kerfuffle because there was no way to get traffic if you were cited in that sources in the AI overview. It was just kind of information with no action being able to take on it. So they've updated it luckily, and now there is a path to getting to the website that's cited in there. So if you look at it pretty closely, you can see then when I expand that overview, there are different elements here. So you can, when you move around through here, you're going to say, we're going to look for direct discounts. I'm going to look for vacation packages. There's different elements to the query I put in there. I was looking for, Disney hotels, do they offer, theme park tickets or discounts on them? So the answer is no, but look at all these other options here based on what I think you're looking for. So you can click on these links and kind of go directly then to the different sites that they're sourcing from there and find the different elements they're trying to give you, saying like, I think I know what you're looking for. Here's your answer. Let's expand on that and give you a little bit more and take you a little bit further. So the AI overview is kind of the biggest part of the search generative experience, which I'm going to go into here in just a second, or the SGE. So hopefully you've kind of seen this. It's been an experience during your searches. I find it very helpful, but it's obviously changing how we're doing our job. So the search generative experience that I've mentioned, or SGE, this was an experimental search feature that Google introduced in May of 2023. So it's been around about 2 years now. So their point is to shift kind of how Google delivers the info. It wants to integrate AI into the search engine. So it uses algorithms or models that can create a variety of content and experiences for us as a searcher. So it runs on a different kinds of technologies that they've built in recent years around like language processing, learning how we use language to find what we're looking for and what we find relevant. So it started really small. We started hearing about it like in select groups of beta tests, users in different locations, and then it was kind of more broadly expanded out over 2024 and 2025. You might have heard something called Gemini or a reference to it. So that's kind of the AI model that powers all of this behind what we're seeing. So we kind of recently started seeing the AI overview as a default experience for types of queries. Like I said, about almost 80% of them. Their goal now is to kind of compete with other answer engines. Like people are using ChatGPT as a search engine. So I'm going to go into ChatGPT like pretty detailed a bit later. So kind of hang with me there because we're going to talk about that in detail. One of the biggest differences I think between this SGE and traditional search is that now we can kind of have a back and forth with our queries. We can ask it questions, we can ask follow-ups, and really refine it. So if you are looking for a hotel, in walking distance to Disneyland that includes, theme park tickets, you can go further within the same search and do like a deeper dive into the topic without having to just start over and figure out if you're getting the same kinds of answers you want. It's a lot more interactive. Really conversational with the search engine now. It's kind of takes on a persona and it helps with more complex searches than we've really been able to kind of get results for before now. So the aim is to understand our intent and give us a lot of information that we might need based on what they think our intent is. It's pretty cool. So seeing all the changes that Google's made over the years, we used to be able to say that their updates have been in response to our search behaviors. Google used to say that all the time, like based on trends we've seen, we've rolled out this update or done this. But for this stuff now, it's kind of flipped upside down. The likely scenario is that our search behaviors are changing in response to AI being the standard. So how we search is different because of the treatment we're getting through this AI overview and SGE. So I had to kind of ask myself when I was going through the webinar, okay, what do I want to talk about? What do I see in the future? What does this mean for us? The question that kind of popped up is like, is SGE the death of traditional use of keywords that we're used to? I've spent over a decade doing keyword research, tracking position changes, reporting on how we're ranking for keywords. It's been a foundation of our SEO work and like a website's content map. So it's hard for me to kind of say it, but like, kind of, yeah, our IP keywords-ish with maybe an asterisk on it, because it's not that it's the death of keywords, but the emphasis that we're placing on keywords and like keyword ranking as a success metric are pretty much behind us, I think. So, I've tried to move away from the reliance on just straight up keywords for the last couple of years, because we kind of saw this coming, and it's becoming a bit of an old school metric in terms of like just being able to take a glance at one piece of information and say, hey, this is working or this isn't. It's just not relevant anymore. This does not mean to ignore it and not to do keyword research or to track it, but the importance of standalone keyword phrases, it's just not really there anymore. SGE is prioritizing like providing comprehensive and helpful answers. So like focusing on content that meets the user's need is really key now. What we want to make sure we're creating is content that is structured, it's comprehensive, and it's really easily digestible from the user point of view, and the search engine. Your site needs to be, a trustworthy source of information, and then we have to use schema for context. This is a vital element. I'll go into that a little bit further. Because that's probably one of the biggest takeaways from this, is how to use schema to kind of move the needle and make your mark here. And in terms of trying to figure out what content to put, you just have to keep asking yourself, like, what is the problem that you can solve? You want to shift from like standard keyword research to more topic research, and like, what do I offer, and get detailed. I found this next graph really interesting when I came across it, because I know I have personally touted the importance of having, long tail keyword phrases in your content strategy, because those are the ones that tend to convert, right? Like, it's all well and good to be like, oh, hotels in Miami, great. That's not where your strategy is going to lie, and that's not where you're going to convert. Longer tail is always the ones that people are searching for. They're lower funnel. It's when they're kind of ready to book. With the changes in how people are asking the questions now, when they're using AI and they're searching and they're expecting those AI answers, they're opting for more information and longer phrases so that they get those really highly relevant results. So it's important to note that like we're not going to ignore the shorter keyword phrases. They absolutely still have a place in your strategy and your content. But it's really imperative now to answer questions like what I said before, like, what is this problem you can solve? So we want to shift from, just relying on kind of the basics to being able to answer queries that we're seeing now that are longer and more detailed, like, where can I stay for the Warped Tour in Orlando? I need a family-friendly hotel with a pool. You're near Yosemite, or what are accessible hotels in San Antonio? It's getting a lot more detailed. So does our content, and so we have to be able to answer these kinds of questions. We've put a lot of effort in the past to like make sure that we're encompassing the full funnel of search terms that people use when they're in their booking journey. So this is really important now that we're kind of getting those longer, like 7 words or more in a search query is very long. It's a sentence. That's how people are searching. So that's how we have to answer. There's a lot more detail in it. It's a lot more conversational. So our content really needs to respond to that. If you're probably wondering, like, well, how do I know what people are searching for now? You still, you still want to use your same tools. Google, Google Ads Keyword Planner is a great tool still. I look at Google Trends to see like what other relevant phrases people are looking for. But my favorite thing is to just actually search for where I want to show up. So if you're, if you're someone looking for the best steak in Miami, look at the sources here that are included. So if I want to see if I can end up here as well as this kind of business, there's a website here for the Steakhouse for Smith and Walensky. They probably got there because they're an old and authoritative website. They're linked to by hundreds of publications. They have great reviews. They rank well for it organically, and they have for a long time. So they already kind of have that authority on their own. But look at what other types of sources are important here. There's Time Out Magazine, Miami Beach site, Reddit is everywhere. Some people don't like it, but it's owned by Google, so it's a Google property. But user generated content for sure has a place in results, especially if you're doing like subjective searches that include words like best. You can't really optimize that. They're wondering what actual people are saying is the answer to that question. So you're going to see that a lot in like your results in these things. But if you scroll down in your search results, you're going to get to the people also ask section. So if you are a steakhouse in Miami, you're trying to figure out how you can get that really minimal organic space in the SERPs. Look at what people are searching for that are like sort of adjacent to best steaks in Miami. Do you have content about what type of steaks are the best? Where does your meat come from? What's the best kind of wine to pair with every kind of steak? Like, that kind of content is totally fair game to put on your website. Think of where else you can support being, part of the answer, because that's more important than just looking up like how many times someone searches for steakhouse in Miami every month and thinking that's where your strategy lies. The answers are going to go further. So our research has to go further. Just put yourself in your searcher's shoes and find places outside of the traditional organic search results where you can show up and find that visibility. So once you've done the research, you got, let's just say you have great content, you have links from other sites, you're doing just fine. Like, how do you get visibility in these new avenues? I can give you a lot of answers, and hopefully I am during the webinar, but I can't stress enough the importance about schema markup. You might see it referred to as structured data as well. It's kind of a general term for it. This is going to be really technical, and I want to go over it without making anyone's eyes glaze over, so I will do my best. But schema markup it's really just a language that's spoken by search engines. As you can see there, that's like straight up code. It doesn't, most people would say, what am I looking at? But it's used in the back end of website pages, and it just creates context for them. So it's like a Cliff Notes or a shortcut to quickly like identify what the page is about and also what details are on the page. So this is a lot faster for them than just crawling all of the content on the page. There is a specific language, schema language for hotels, specific one for restaurants, for menus, tourist attractions, wedding venues, event spaces, all sorts of stuff. So we can use that script to tell Google what the page is about and make those connections. This is not a new concept. Schema has been around for a while. Every website should have schema markup on every page, at least to identify the topic of the page for the search engines and get a little bit of context. But for AI, we have to take it a little further and connect the hotel to the entity, to the attraction, to the event that you're trying to get visibility for, and build some bridges here with the code. So I have a few examples here of what can happen. This is stuff that we tried out with some of our clients. Just using schema markup to connect the hotel to like a nearby venue. So these are, like I said, these are actual results I pulled to kind of show you this in practice. So I did a search for hotels near the Miami Auto Show at the Miami Beach Convention Center, and the AI overview that appeared for me showed a handful of hotels here. So the sources on the right are coming from, the actual Convention Center and Visitors Bureau. There's a hotel group here that had content specific to the auto show, and they are right near it, so they already have that kind of like authority and relevance for those terms. And then one of our clients, and we used only schema markup. There wasn't any additional like blog topics or anything about the show at that point. One thing I want to point out is we can't just slap schema on a page and expect this to happen. You have to actually be kind of a relevant result first. So if there is a hotel that's like 10 miles away from the convention center trying to do this, this isn't going to work. It's not a fix-all, a magic button. Because the hotel is nearby and it's a good answer to this question, we have a chance of getting that real estate. So, you know, we want to make a difference by taking it that extra mile, but it has to be a good result to begin with. Another example here is I did a search for a concert at Camping World Stadium in Orlando. So all 4 results here in the AI overview are hotels themselves. This one doesn't have like the venue website or any like general travel sites. So these 4 hotels belong to the same hotel group, and they're our clients. And we were using the schema method on all of these since they are, again, close by, they're already relevant. We just needed to kind of push it to get into this space. In this example specifically, all of them appeared in the overview, and I tried like different test searches, and it would vary. Sometimes only 3 and something else would show up, sometimes only 2. But the purpose of the test, we just wanted to see if having that schema markup and making those connections for Google was powerful enough to get them to appear with like other authoritative results. And we saw these results pretty quickly after adding the schema. I think it was about 2 to 3 days, even if that. So it was a really easy, well, not easy because it takes a lot to build the schema, but a powerful way to kind of make that difference and get into this new like avenue for organic search. Again, I'm going to mention a hotel 20 miles away will not be relevant enough. Like we could build the best schema markup in the world. But if it's not going to convert anyway, there's not much point putting in that kind of effort. But when you have a relevant result and like, you know, it's a good answer to the question and you want to increase your chances of showing up, this is a great way to do it by using the markup to get into the AI overview. And because it's Google, they might change this. Right now, it is all organic results. I don't yet see any paid placements in the AI overview. That doesn't mean that tomorrow we're not going to wake up and see some sponsored listings for these results as well. So as of right now, it is 100% organic. I don't know if that's going to change. Google is a business and they make money off ads. So maybe that's down the road for us. We don't know. But right now, it's just 100% organic opportunity in the AI results. So how we build this schema, I'm not going to show you like the whole thing, but this is kind of just an example, like a visual representation. Like if you have a wedding venue on your property, say you have like on-site catering, you offer wedding packages, you know, the spa for the bridal party, the restaurant for rehearsal dinner, and you want kind of visibility for the whole thing and tie it together. You're going to put specific schema markup. This isn't the actual code, like I said, like on the wedding page. And then we're going to use hotel schema to tie it to the actual hotel itself. And that it contains a place, it's a spa, and then the spa details, and it also contains a restaurant, and the restaurant details. The events we hold here are weddings, and here are our wedding packages. So you're kind of putting all of this information in, you know, some lines of code that gets crawled within milliseconds. You've just given the search engines an astonishing amount of information in just some code. The search engines don't always crawl the content, all the content on every page, but it will crawl this markup. So it is something really important. It's kind of not optional at this point to make sure you're giving all of that information right up front, just in case they don't go through all the content, and you're kind of providing them like a map of everything that's on that page, and it will help you get visibility. All righty. Another thing we have to talk about, because we can't talk about AI without going through this quite a bit, is ChatGPT. I love ChatGPT. And this information kind of goes for all the LLMs out there. Large language model is what it's called. Like Microsoft Copilot is one of them. Perplexity you might have heard of. There might be some nuances sort of between one version versus another, but it seems that they all share a lot of the same foundational elements for getting visibility and ranking on them for like their results as well. I want to pay attention to ChatGPT specifically. Hopefully you've all heard of it by now. It is the fastest growing of all of them. It doesn't dig into Google's market share very much because it's just so massive, but the growth is really impressive since its inception. It's at this point, and I think I pulled this data just a couple of days ago, the 8th most visited website in the world. It has 400 million weekly users and up to 37 million searches per day, which is really impressive. I mean, Google has like 1 billion searches per day, but for something brand new, this is really impressive. Those aren't all one and done searches. So like I was saying before, people can ask follow-up questions. They might ask 5 or 6 questions in one search. So that would be like 5 or 6 searches, in there, but it's still very interesting. Like it's above more visits than Amazon and TikTok, which I did not expect. So definitely worth paying attention to and making sure that we're utilizing ChatGPT and trying to optimize for it as well as other things when we're working on our websites. So a lot like AI overview, ChatGPT works by providing a bunch of different, a variety of answers, and you can interact and ask follow-ups, get clarifications, and do like a pretty deep dive into what you're searching for. The results will be pulled directly, again, from like property websites, also from outside sources. So like this example here that I pulled, you have I think it's the Marriott website right there, but then we have outside sources that just mention other hotels in here. But I kind of want to point out something that it did here that I found really interesting. So I was looking for a hotel in Orlando that has water slides and splash pads. I never mentioned family friendly, obviously. This understands the intent behind my search. So generally speaking, someone who's looking for, slides and splash pads is going to be traveling with kids. And I never actually said that, but the results are sourced from Orlando Parenting Magazine and Family Vacation Critic, plus, the actual hotel site. So I found that to be really telling. Like it knows that I'm probably traveling with children since I'm looking for splash pads. It's making an assumption about my intent based on the language I use. And I found that to be really intelligent. And definitely worth noting because that's where we want it to go. We want smart answers to our questions. Like, read my mind. Thank you. You understood the assignment. There are a couple of best practices that I can share with you guys about optimizing for ChatGPT. Like I said, it does overlap with AI overview in a lot of ways. So content and markup are going to remain at the top of your strategy. Have a strong homepage. Make sure it is detailed. I love when amenities are listed on the homepage, brief room type summaries, vary the layout and keep it digestible. The about page is another way to add crawlable content to the site if you can add one, or if you already have one, especially if you have a property or a business that has like a pretty significant history in the community. Any nuances to the business or selling points that you want to put out there, put it out there. FAQ sections I have loved and will love for the rest of my life. So they're crawled if they're marked up properly, and they're very often cited in that people also ask section in search results. So these are like gold. You can add content that's not just administrative either. Like what time is checkout? Yeah, sure. But get a little bit more creative. What points of interest are walking distance from your front door? What are your happy hour specials? Talk about sustainable practices in the hotel or wellness activities, which are, popular for vacations lately. So like it's all fair game. And just throw it into your FAQs. If people don't want to read that, they'll skip past it. But the chat bots or and the search bots are reading it, and you can get some really good visibility through them. So try to have them. Structure the content that's on your website to be organized. When you have a web page, have your H1 header, your content subheadings, like local, organized, or logical and organized content makes sense for the user, for search engines. We want to make sure we make both of them happy. And then build relationships with that markup. I can say this over and over, what I talked about in detail, like use that schema to connect your property to local points of interest, things to do, your on-site restaurant, vacation packages you offer. It's all doable, and it makes a really big difference at the end of the day when you want to get visibility in this organic space that's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Lastly, don't lead with fluff with your content. I found a really good example of the kind of language. It's written a certain way. It's almost like it's to sound nice and make happy the person who paid for the content to be written, but this would not make a person or a search engine happy. This isn't bad in itself. If there's a brand voice or a tone you like to have on your website, go for it. Totally fair game. But if content like this is all there is, and then there's, you know, a bunch of pictures or a couple more random paragraphs that kind of sound just like this, you're not giving AI anything, and it's not going to actually do anything for you. You're missing that opportunity to provide really detailed information. We want lists, specifics. And if it's too much for the homepage, which it might be because you have a lot going on your property, put it on another page and link to it to connect it. You know, just make sure it's there and represented, and you're not just being cutesy and branded, but you're actually providing really detailed information. And the last way, and probably one of the most powerful in terms of impact, is getting citations. So it's one thing to really get your own website included in any of those AI-powered search results we've talked about. And you're most likely getting in there if you're already ranking pretty well for it and you just kind of have to go that extra mile. But if you're finding that these efforts like aren't really working, or you kind of want to help move the needle a little faster, citations are going to be a really big help. A citation, if you're unfamiliar, is like being mentioned and linked to from an outside source. So it's kind of like a backlink, but it's, you know, like it's a little bit more important, because you want this to be from a high authority in the industry that would serve like as a trusted source of information by Google. But they're not easy to get. You know, honestly, this whole process is sort of like riding on the coattails of whoever is already appearing in these results, and you're like, well, if I can't beat them, I might as well join them kind of fashion. So the best way to approach this is to do some searches for the things that you'd like to have visibility for and things that matter like to your property that you think your ideal guest would be searching for, and you'll start seeing some things repeating. So I pulled this example. I asked for the best resort for white wine lovers in Sonoma, because why not? The first result here is an actual property, and that summary I checked is being pulled directly from content throughout their homepage. And you'll see there are 2 other sources here that they're citing that support this result. So this also, it comes from Travel and Leisure and Food and Wine, and they both also mention this property. So these are citations. And this one's not even recent, it's from 2019. That just carries so much weight from this authoritative source that it doesn't matter, it's still valuable. The next option comes from the local tourism board, and what I love about this is that they have a link to a wine lover's itinerary called out. So if you see this, you should be asking yourself, oh, should I have some content like that? That makes a lot of sense. You know, if it's relevant to your guest, then yeah, we should have it there. And then the third result there is from Wine Enthusiast. So 2 of those 3 results are properties that don't have their own sites as main sources. One has a link within because they have a lot of content about white wines specifically on their site and on their Wikipedia page. Wikipedia is very powerful if you have it. And then the last one, the property called out, appears in 2 recent articles about hotels in Sonoma. So even if their sites themselves aren't sourced directly, they're getting in here via that other channel, by those citations, since they're being mentioned in the sources that are being used. So these are incredibly powerful. The problem is they're not very easy to get. You can't really just call up Travel and Leisure and be like, hey, can you talk about my hotel? So it takes a lot of effort building relationships within the community. But there is no downside besides, you know, maybe just having to spend some time that you know, you may not have much of these days, but do some searches and see what sources are being cited and create content that might get picked up like in this way, or try to start building some bridges and get some of those citations in the future and try to dig into those relationships, see if there's something there. You kind of can't go wrong. But in the meantime, your own website, your Google business profile, your knowledge graph, your Wikipedia page, these are all sources that you do have access to and control over. So make sure you're delivering good content. It's crawlable, it's understandable. Use lists, FAQs, and I love, different formats. If you have good content, you change it up here and there, you balance your fluff with the facts, and you get someone, if not you yourself, an agency or someone, to build you some really good schema markup for each page and create those valuable connections between your business and everything you want to rank for, you will absolutely see a difference here in this new landscape. It's a lot, but it's really important that we keep working at it. So I know this is a lot of information I just kind of threw at you guys, so I'll do like a really quick summary of the main points I kind of want to leave you with and some things to keep in mind as you move forward. So I think we all knew that there are fewer opportunities to rank organically than ever before. Like it is like slim pickings out there. The SERPs are changing pretty quickly. They're offering a multitude of results, and they seem to be favoring like features and ads, which isn't surprising. Like I said, Google's a business and they got to make their money. One of the best paths to organic currently is through the AI overview or through an LLM like ChatGPT. For visibility in results that are relevant to your business, use the schema markup and build those connections. That is absolutely vital. Give the search engines all the information it needs in the language that it speaks. But then back it up with content for the user as well. Get detailed, get specific, answer the questions that are being asked. And then what else do I have here? So AI is changing how we're searching. I know it already has affected how I'm searching myself. Let's not worry so much about how we're ranking for keywords, but let's make sure that we know what people are asking and that we're delivering content and things that can actually answer those questions so we can show up and be visible. And then we got some questions, but before we go into some questions,
I was going to say, I'm going to pop in and help you out with the questions.
Yeah. Before we get into questions, I just want to mention next week's webinar is hosted by our resident expert in paid ads, Anna Ajluni. She's going to talk about some really good paid media stuff and specifically about like how to best use meta search ads to drive bookings. While hopefully you learned a lot about doing things organically, she is a great source of information with utilizing the paid channels to get revenue and bookings. So make sure you register to join. She will be next Wednesday at 12 p.m.
All right, so our first question, what do you think about people saying we should use a different name for SEO now since it's all about optimizing for AI? I've seen AEO and CEO. Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I have thoughts. I hate it. So I've seen that too. So I think the one I saw that I actually did like at first, it was AEO, which stands for Answer Engine Optimization. I kind of liked it because I was like, oh, that's cute. Because like maybe we should call them answer engines. Like that's what they're doing. But that's kind of always what they've done, just in a slightly different format now. CEO is like, I can't even remember what it is, but it's something, I don't know. There's like generative experience optimization. There's AIO for AI optimization. Like there's so many different like letters people are trying to throw around now. It's still SEO, guys. Like give me 1 year where SEO hasn't actually changed drastically from like 1 year to the next. And it's still search engine optimization. So while it's all well and cute and everybody wants to be like, oh, I came up with the new, way to call it, it's still SEO. I'm never going to call it anything different, and neither should you. And that is all I have to say about that.
Great. Is using AI to generate blog content safe from an SEO standpoint?
So yeah, we did get this question a lot actually last year when we did our in-person event in Miami. Coming up in June, if you're interested for another one, details to come. So utilizing AI to write content, I like the idea, obviously. It makes your jobs a little bit easier. It can write smart content, pick up things that maybe you wouldn't have thought of yourself. It writes it in a clear and concise manner. It's organized. So absolutely. But the biggest mistake that people make is that they just get AI to generate some content for them and then they publish it. So that is probably what I would say to stay away from. AI is a really valuable tool. Sometimes like I'll write something and then I'll pop it into ChatGPT and say like, hey, is there a better way to say this part? Or hey, can you help me summarize that with bullet points? So it's a great helper. A great editor, great, comes up with some ideas and kind of gives you like, oh, why don't you try this or don't forget about that. But if you just say like, hey, write about this, and then you just let it spit something out and you publish it, like just don't bother because it's not written for a user. People can tell. It kind of makes you look lazy. So I'd say, like, yes, use it as a tool. Absolutely. It could be your best friend when you're trying to generate and write good content, but you have to use your brain. Edit it yourself, or, you know, start somewhere yourself and have it help you take it a bit further, but please don't just generate and publish.
I agree. It's a great starting point, but definitely put your human touch on it.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
next question. Do you think AI will replace SEO jobs? Asking for a friend.
Hope not. So we obviously have to think about this. Seeing as how I'm in, you know, it is my job and my career. I'm like, wow, is my job safe? I kind of go back and forth because you can use Chat GPT to like help you do like technical site audits, like help you with like create an internal linking structure. We actually, you know, use it, or I personally do, to build some good schema markup. So it's one of those things, again, it's a really valuable tool, but it absolutely cannot replace um, expertise, talent, you know, and knowledge from a human being. So because the way it is going and it's changing so rapidly, I can almost say that you need someone to stay ahead of it more now than even you did before. Because this is such a rapid progression from like the most I've seen in probably my career, like most changes in such a short span of time. If we didn't have people working to stay in front of it and to learn it and figure it out, we'd be behind. I think it will only replace your job if you don't adapt, get proactive, and learn this. You know, I tend to personally, because I'm of a certain age, you know, hesitate to take on something new or be like, I don't want to learn that. Like, you won't find me on TikTok, like, sorry. But this isn't one of those times where you can actually kind of just stick your head in the sand and be like, oh, it's passing fad, I'll be fine. The good SEO analysts and people to have on your team are the ones who are already learning about this and who are getting really good at it. So as long as you're aligning with the changes that we're seeing, I think you'll always have a job and you'll be in demand and probably one of the most valuable people in a marketing team.
All right. Can they currently or in the near future, do you think LLMs will book hotels for a guest?
Ooh, so I know we talked about it before we started the webinar, that you can kind of have it find hotel rooms for you based on what you're looking for. You can give it a price range. And the option was like, do you want me to call for you? And I was like, oh, I haven't seen that before, but surely it just connects your phone and you're still doing the talking. So I don't really think it can book for you because you have to give a lot of information and payment information. And I just think people are going to be hesitant to say, here, Chat GPT, here's my credit card information, go book me a hotel room. So I think our own sense of like wanting to have security and protection will keep us wanting to do that part ourselves. But it's going to get us very close. Like if you say like, hey, I need a room that's this big with this many beds with this kind of view, and this, it's going to give you that one hotel that can fit that without you having to do any research. So it's going to get us real close. But I think we still need to be the person to actually make the conversion and take that last step and book.
All right. Would a press page citing certain articles mentioning a property be helpful for SGE results, or is the existence of those articles separately doing what it is needed to appear in those results?
So I think, so you're asking, is having a press page with all those articles helpful? Yes, the most helpful part of that are those articles that's mentioning your property. So those are citations. So that's going to be where the SGE is going to value, like where are those sources coming from? Where have you been mentioned? Is it like Forbes Travel Week, things like that? Having them exist at all is going to be the power behind that. Having it on your website basically just gives you more content, more authority. If those articles link back to your website, especially, thank you, say yes, please. And maybe just a better user experience for people who want to book and they want to make sure that you're legit, that you're awesome, that you're everything you say you are. Well, all these people said so. So yes. So I don't know if it would help having it on your site versus just having the citations living out there in terms of SGE and showing up in those results. Having them on the outside source is where that value and power is going to come from. But I do think as someone who has, you know, so many choices when it comes to where they're going to spend their money when they travel, I personally would feel better converting and booking if I did see that on someone's website. So it can impact your conversion rate, which then will indirectly impact your ranking and your visibility. So I say if you're torn between like adding it and having to maybe spend a little extra money to develop that part of your website, yes, do it. There is no downside really. So go ahead and have it. You're not going to have to deal with like duplicate content issues or anything like that. Yeah, boast about yourself. Like, why wouldn't you? So go for it.
All right. Is AI going to kill backlinks as a ranking factor?
Ooh, that's a really good question. So, backlinks have kind of a sordid history with Google. So backlinks are just links from other websites to your business website, kind of like citations, really. But you know, back in the day, Google used to think that backlinks were kind of like the end all and be all of ranking. Like it matters how many other people are talking about you. So if you have 1,000 backlinks, you're going to outrank someone who only has 100. Over time, as people started gaming the system and just buying thousands of backlinks that were total garbage, its reliance on backlinks as a ranking factor has diminished pretty significantly. Now it doesn't matter if you have 10, but if they're all from good sources and they're actually getting clicked and you're getting traffic from those 10, it's more powerful and valuable than the 1,000 from over here that don't do anything and that just sit there from crappy sites, you know? Wait, what was the question? I go on rampages about
Is
backlinks
AI
sometimes.
going to kill the backlinks as a ranking?
No. So no, it won't. But I think it's just going to continue diminishing their power. So it's not going to matter how many you have from like these random directory sites. What's going to become more important is, are these backlinks really true citations from valuable, trustworthy, authoritative sources in your industry? So give me 2 backlinks from like Forbes Travel and take your 1,000 from these like random website directories. I'll take those 2 any day because you're going to rank better with those than with anything else. So I think it's not going to make them unimportant, but how like much quality and power they bring is going to be what matters and what makes the difference. Like if you have a few backlinks, great, they better be good. If you don't have any, that's okay. Try to get a couple good ones. But if you have 1,000 that are garbage, like it's not, that's what's not going to matter anymore. I hope that answers the question.
All right, great. Does anyone else have any more questions? That's all we had for now.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for letting me talk at you for 45 or so minutes. I've appreciated it, and I hope you guys took something away from it. I know it can be kind of like overwhelming when we think about all the changes that are happening right now and what they mean, and it's all happened pretty quickly and it's been pretty drastic, but you know, our jobs are to figure this out. And I'm happy to kind of, you know, if anyone wants to reach out to me, otherwise I'm on LinkedIn or, you know, I have my email. I probably should have popped it on here, but, you know, if there's any other questions or things I can help with, you know, I'm here to be a source of information, and hopefully you find it valuable.
Great. And we all really hope that you join us next week as Anna discusses using meta search to drive bookings. And otherwise, have a great day. And we look forward to chatting next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.